Hello Sumate, welcome back to my channel. So this is a continuation of this tube trending corset. If you've not seen the part one, how I drafted it, you will not understand the part two. So go and watch the part one. I'll be leaving the link in the description box. Like I said in the part one, this is only for the purpose of the tutorial. The fabrics are not something I can wear out. Okay, so for us to get started, this is what the inside looks like. We did bust caging for the inside. Mind you, I didn't use fiber, it's just wording and bony I used. Okay, so now let's get started. The last part where we stopped was where I cut on the fabric. So this is it on the table. I've gone ahead to cut all the patterns of fabric, and you can see the ½ inch added all over it. Then by the side you have your 1.5 inch for your normal seam allowance. Okay, I added ½ inch to all the parts I'm joining together, so please take note of that. I've also cut on the lining also. Okay, so this is the center front. I cut it on fold, and after spreading it, this is what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and remove all the pins, but we'll be working with the front pattern first. After removing all the pins, now this is what I did something here. I went to join everything together, thinking I would just be able to iron the wording on it after joining them together. So I went straight to join together. At this point, I've already gone to join the front pattern together, and this is what it looks like after joining it together. You can see the curve and everything perfect on it, right? So I felt that the curve, like the sweetheart, wasn't deep enough, so I had to trim it a little bit. So I did trimming for the main fabric. This is the main fabric. Then I also did trimming for the lining, because I want the sweetheart neckline deeper. Like I said when I was drafting it, if you're very busty and you go deeper than this, the whole of your boobs are going to be outside, except you like exposing your boobs. So this is the lining part. You can see me that I am also trimming from the lining, because they have to be equal in length. Okay, so after doing that, I went straight to the sewing table. I'm going to show us a clip of how I struggle with that. This is the back pattern. I've joined all the back pattern together, all the pieces together. If you watch part one, you will understand very well, because we labeled everything one after the other, so the joining was easy. So this is me on the ironing table. That's the wording I've placed on my tailor's arm, and I placed the fabric on top of it, because I thought I will be able to iron it on it like this. Okay, because of what I've been seeing online, but those people, they use fiber, not wording. So I thought I could use the same method from the short clips I do see online, but it didn't work for me. So I went back to cutting the lining and me to cutting the wording separately. This is me trying to iron it. It wasn't arranging at all, it wasn't. So what I did, I went ahead to loosen it. You see the front pattern, the only part I didn't lose is the back, because we're not ironing any wording to the back. So this is it. I've gone ahead to lose it. After losing the front, both the lining and the main fabric, I went ahead to iron it properly. Okay, you know I've already notched it before, so I went ahead to iron it. And after ironing it, this is the wording. I now place the fabric on the wording, so I can iron the fabric one by one on the wording appropriately before going ahead to join it together. So please don't make that mistake. Before you go ahead to join your fabric together, make sure you iron your wording on it. Let's follow the normal process we used to make our tube bustier. Okay, so now I went ahead to iron the wording on the front. Don't forget that both the lining and the main fabric is carrying wording. So the way I'm ironing it on the main fabric here is same way I will iron it on the lining. Okay, that's what gives it this fullness that you see. Okay, so both the fabric and the main lining is carrying wording. Now another thing I want to bring to your notice is that don't make yours without hairstay or paper stay. But like I told us from the pattern of the video, it's not something I'm wearing out. Okay, That's why I didn't iron haste or paper stay on it. I did not want to waste my material. I'm just doing it for the purpose of the video with the leftover fabric I have. Okay, so here now I've gone ahead to join the front together. So both the lining and the main fabric, this is the main fabric on the table, and this other one I'm bringing, that's the main fabric I'm holding, and this is the lining. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join it. Now the next thing we'll be doing now is to create our bust caging. So you can see the lines I'm rolling on the side where there is wording. That's where we'll be creating the bust caging on. So you can see how I'm rolling. Now another thing I realize is the more boning you have on the bust caging part, the more structure you will have, the more it will give you structure, the more the bust part will stand. Okay, so I didn't even use more bony on my own, and it still came out very well at the end of the day. So let's assume you're using more bony than I used here. It will come out better than this. But like I said, it is for the purpose of the tutorial I'm making this video. You can see all my lines. Okay, I know you cannot see them very clearly, but you can see them. So we'll go to the machine now. We'll sew the boning on the lines I've created with the chalk. So we are now working on the caging. Okay, don't forget that this bust caging we're doing is on the lining, not on the main fabric. Remember, we iron wording on the lining and on the fabric. So we are creating the bust caging on only the lining. Okay, I'm not on the main fabric. So this is me. I will go ahead and try to follow the lines I have created with the chalk. So what I'm doing basically is just to sew the boning around it. You know that this rigidly boning, you sew on both sides of the boning. Okay, so I'm only sewing on one side of it first. By the time I'm done sewing it round, I will go ahead and sew the other side down. Okay, so you have to hold both sides of the bony down so that it will relax well. Okay, don't sew only one part, right? So you can see how I'm doing it. So when it gets to where you will curve it, just cut it off like this. Okay, so after cutting it off, you place it again directly at the part that you just cut it off, then go ahead again and run your other line. This is how you will continue running it on all the lines you've marked with chalk. Let's assume you have like 10 lines to follow with the boning. You're going to run it like this on it until you are done with all the lines. Do not be in haste if you're doing this. You can see what I'm doing here, right? I'm just running it through the lines. Okay, so when I got to this part, this I had to stop it here for us to see it properly. So I'm going to cut the bony away at this junction because I've succeeded in running the bony round it. So it's remaining the lines that we have on the inside that will be sewing on. This is what it looks like now. You know we're not done, but you can see that the curve is already coming out, right? So now you are going to sew the other part. You know, I told you the bony has two parts. Now that we've sewn one part of the bony, we are going to sew the second part of the bony, like we're pressing it down so that it can relax very well. Don't forget to do that if you're doing your own. If not, it is not going to relax at all. Okay, so you can see what I am doing here. So you go ahead and sew it like this all through until you're done sewing it. So there is another important part I want to show us in fixing the boning. You don't mix that part, because if you do, your caging is not going to sit properly. Okay, now you can see that all these lines are running. They are new lines that I formed with the chalk that I'm running the boning on. So the major part of it is this joining we have at the middle. I'll be showing us the part now at the middle. You see the joining we use in joining the wording together. We use in creating the dot, the line, this part at the middle. You are going to sew on it. You will sew your boning directly. Can you see what I'm doing now? You know this part is curvy, so it is very tricky. So as you're sewing it, you'll be spreading it. Don't rush it, take your time. As you're sewing, you are arranging it and you're spreading it so that it will not pack. Okay, So that's just it. You can see me, I'll just run the bunny straight on it, and after running it down, I will go ahead to press the second part of the bunny again, like I did for the other side. So this is how I will continue running the bunny all through all the parts that I marked my chalk on until I am completely done. So here I've gone ahead to sew the bunny down. Now I will go ahead to press the second part of the bunny so that it relaxes very well. Now immediately after fixing your bunny on this point of the tube, you will see how nice and how firm it will look. So like I said, the more bunny you have on the tube, the better it stands. Okay, so this video is just a tutorial trying out this corset pattern, and it came out well. So after that, I've gone ahead to run bunnies on all the lines. This is what we have. Can you see it? You can see how it's standing. I've not even gone ahead to iron it, so you can see how nice it is. Now the front pattern, now you can see the inside, you can see the lines of all the bunny, and you can see that it's very spacious too. So you can make yours tinier than that. Like I say, the more bunny, the more firmer it stands. Okay, so when you put the front pattern on it, this is how it's going to be firm. But for the front, we are not done with it because we need to create a bunny channel. Can you see the inside, how neatly done it is? We need to create a bunny channel for the front pattern. So this is the front pattern. Don't mind my fabric. Like I said, I did not iron paper stay or hair stay on the fabric. This is excellent satin, and once you do not have an interfacing on it, it doesn't relax at all. Okay, so like I said, I'm not wearing it anyway, and even the akara I'm using, it fades. So it is just for the purpose of the video. Okay, so you just ignore all the ruffles you're seeing. So I created an extra line at the middle for bunny channel. I wanted to put another one at the side, but I decided not to. But please, you know, this corset, it has a lot of bunny channel. Like that's what just gives it the beauty. So please, your front pattern can carry like 7, 8 or 9 bunny channel if possible. Just create a part for them. You need a lot of bunny channel. The more bunny you have, the more structure it gives you. Okay, so this is me creating the bunny channel. Fold your fabric into two. The fabric is 1.5. The width of the fabric is 1.5. Now the width of your fabric depends on how big your bunny is, on the width of your bunny, right? So now after folding it into two, you are placing it across. If there's any line you mark, just place it a quarter of an inch away from the line. Then you sew it down tiny. Don't sew too much of it. If you sew too much of it, by the time you flip it or you turn it to the other side and press it down, your bunny will not be able to pass. So when you're sewing it, make sure you don't take too much allowance so that your bunny can still pass by the time you want to pass your bunny through it. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. Go ahead and sew it. Continue to sew it like this. You can see how I'm taking us through the process smoothly. Now after sewing it like this, now you are going ahead to turn it, right? You will turn it to the other side, like you make it relax, then you sew again. Can you see what we have? So you can see me turning it this way, then go ahead and sew again. Can you see? So by the time you sew it all through, when you're done sewing it all through like this, the other side that you turned from, you are going to sew it again. So which means that we are running 3 stitches on one body channel. So we are sewing the other side, we are pressing the other side down again, very tiny stitch so that your bunny can still pass. So this is what I will do for both the front and the back for all the bunny channels that we have. So on this other line too, I'm going to create a bunny channel on it the same way I did for this one. The same thing I will repeat until I'm done with the numbers of bunny channel needed for both the front and back. So after creating the bunny channel, the next thing we'll be doing is to fix our looping rope. I did not use eyelet for this one. Like I said, I am not wearing it anyway. And again, I'm beginning to prefer looping rope to eyelet because the eyelet I used for one of my dresses is already rusting. Okay, so you can see how I'm fixing it. If you're still watching at this point and you find the video helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment and share. Tell me what you think about the video. So this is the back pattern. You can see that we've created the bunny channel. On the lower part, come up by 1 inch. On the upper part, mark ½ inch away from it. So when you want to put your looping rope, you know that it is not exceeding the point you mark. The point we mark will serve as what we will use to turn our lining and fabric together, and then the lower part we marked 1 inch away from is what we will use to turn with the bias. We'll turn the lower part with the bias. So you measure how many inches you want. So for the looping rope, I'm cutting 2 inches each, 2 inch, and they are all 2 inches. Okay, so you can see that I'm using it to measure. So I've gone ahead to cut the ones that will be enough for me. So what do? Fold it into two. Make sure it is flat at the edge, then start from where you marked earlier. Can you see what we have? Go ahead and sew. So when you want to start from that first one, you tighten it. Okay, then others will start coming after that one. Then when you get to the upper part where you marked your ½ inch, you will also stop there. You can see what I'm doing, right? It is very easy and very simple to make. So you pick your rope, you fold it into two, you flatten it. Make sure you flatten it. Okay, don't put it on top each other. So you flatten it. Can you see what I'm doing? Then you start adding it just like that. You go ahead and sew until you are done covering the part that you are putting looping rope on. So I will continue like this until I am done fixing the looping rope on it. Then by the time I'm done, I will repeat the same thing for the other side of the back pattern. Okay, so at this point you're done. Go ahead and count it. So after counting it, you know how many you're needing for the other side. It shouldn't be lesser or more than the other side. If not, by the time you lace it, it's not going to lace properly. Okay, so the next thing I want to do now, after attaching the looping rope, I'm joining it side by side, front and back. So you are joining lining to lining and you are joining fabric to fabric. Okay, because we are doing inseam sewing. So we don't want any joining at the inside, so we're doing inseam. So what you do, join it fabric to fabric, then you join lining to lining. You can see me measuring the 1.5 I added for seam allowance all through. If it's 1 inch you added for seam allowance, measure it away and join it. By the time you measure the seam allowance, how many inches you added away, it goes back to the original measurements of the body. So this is what we have. Now we are going to join the lining and the fabric together, and it's coming right side facing right side. Can you see what I'm doing? So you just place it on top each other, go ahead and join it. Now I'm starting my joining from the lower part, which is the center back. Make sure your joining does not exceed ½ inch. So you're going to sew it all round. The only part you're not sewing at this point is the lower part, because that's where we will use to turn it. Okay, and by the time we're done turning it, we'll go ahead to use a bias strip to turn the lower part. Okay, so you can see me sewing it round. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you very much. I love you. There will be no me on YouTube without you. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. I love you and thank you for stopping by, and don't forget to drop a comment and tell me what you think about the video. So I've gone ahead to turn it. I've joined it round and I've turned it to the right side, and this is what we have. You can see how beautiful it is, even though it's looking rumpled. So this is what we have. I have my plastic bunny here. I'm just going to measure it to see the length I need. Then I'm going to measure it all through. Then I'll cut the bunny. After cutting the exact amount of bunny I need now, I will go ahead and bond the edges, the both edges, so that it doesn't tear my fabric or anything. Just do it. It will smoothen it for you. You can see me using my lighter to bond the edges of the boning. After doing that, I will go straight to the ironing table, iron the boning straight. After ironing it straight, I will go ahead. You can see the bonings that they are now straight, right? I will go ahead and impute it through all the channels. Okay, so you know which one to enter which one, because some are going to be longer, especially the ones for the front will be longer than the ones for the back. So after doing that, and I realized that I didn't create any boning channel for the center back. Don't make your corset without creating a boning channel for the center back. Okay, please, it will not, if you lace it at the back, it's not going to stand firm. So before I went to use the bias strip, I went ahead to create a bony channel. Creating a bony channel for the center back is just simply running half inches that you will pass your bony through. Okay, you run 2 lines, half inch, you pass through 2 bonies through it. Can you see it? You can see the bonies at the center back. So it is done, and I've gone ahead to use the bias. Like I told you, the Ankara I even use is fading. So like I said, it's only for this video. Thank you for watching, and bye.